Another interesting gamble is what Julien BriseBois is doing out in Tampa Bay, just taking that trio of RFAs and saying, you guys aren't going anywhere ever, and signing them all to 8-year deals that, for me, they all look pretty rich right now. Are these moves that you think, like, will these contracts age well over the next 3-4 years, and we'll be sitting there going, the Lightning did it again? Or will we be sitting there kind of like Colin White in Ottawa, where it's like, oh, you signed the young player to this big, long deal, and they maybe don't pan out to the cap hit you had him inked to?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit hopeful in a couple of the cases. For Sergachev, he just turned 24, so he's still young. I'm not super worried about the term, but you're paying him to be a true number one, which I don't think that we've seen him be. Again, he's young, he can get there maybe, and the cap is probably going to go up, so that hit may not look so bad throughout the course of that run. But I think you are banking on him being a true number one. Cirelli, I like the deal. I really like him as a difference maker, as a shutdown center in the top six. So I have no problem with that one. The Cernak deal, that one is also sort of hopeful to me because you're hoping that he stays the player that he has been for them over the past year or so. And for true defensive defensemen, we kind of see that drop off happen. And so, around the age numbers that he's going to get towards in the latter half of that deal. So I think there's a little bit of wishful thinking and hopeful positivity from Julien BriseBois, but they obviously like the roster that they have for obvious reasons, and they're trying to keep it together as much as they can. And, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for a team that's trying to keep its window open.
But what do you think? I just asked this question to Pete. What do you think about the way the Lightning sort of took care of business in-house here today?
The Lightning just continue to blow me away year after year, and they will lose important pieces of their puzzle every season. So right now it's going to be Ryan McDonagh. It could still be Andre Palat, but they continue to lock up their core. They have their young stars signed long-term. And I think a big reason why the Lightning can do this is because they have one of the best development systems in the NHL. It's been this way going back to when John Cooper was in Norfolk coaching that team that won, 28 games in a row. That team had Andre Palat and Tyler Johnson on it, etc. And they have an amazing ability to just have this sort of next man up system going. And the latest in recent seasons was Ross Colton. They just can find guys over and over. And also on the trade market, players who are undervalued. We saw what Nick Paul did when he came to Tampa. And I think because they're so good at developing their lesser players, their bottom sixers, their sixth or seventh defensemen, they are just okay with once a year losing someone. Last year it was Tyler Johnson and Yanni Gordon, Blake Coleman. This year it's Ryan McDonagh. And again, like I said, it could be Palat, but they just keep coming back stronger every single season. And I think it's because they know how to prioritize and spend their money on their young stars. And that's what we saw today with the 3 extensions, 8 years for Cirelli and Cernak and Sergachev.
What really I see happening here is that BriseBois is planning for the future. And you've got 2 more years of Stamkos. You got 3 more years of Hedman. You'd expect to have them around as long as you'd like to in Tampa Bay. You don't know what type of contract they may need next. You're going to have Braden Point. You're going to have Anthony Cirelli. You're going to have Nick Paul as 3 centermen that you can utilize basically for eternity if you're a Tampa Bay Lightning manager right now, okay? And who knows, as Stamkos gets older, maybe he goes to the wing. You don't know if he's going to come back. The Sergachev contract, I think, is a little rich right now. We wonder what that looks like down the road. But he is the prototypical defenseman in this league and the way it's going. And he will play an expanded role with McDonagh not being there. So to me, this is just more smart biz. When you have these players, you can lock them up early. Why run it to a deadline? Why fight over $300,000 a year or $500,000 a year when you can do it early and get it done? Because this team's going to be locked and really good for the foreseeable future.
For me, like, all 3 of them feel like overpays in the moment right now. I think even for a guy like Cirelli, like, he only scored 17 goals this past season. He's great defensively. This is a guy who could win a Selke one day, but in the moment, it feels like an overpay. With Sergachev, in the moment, feels like an overpay. Cernak, certainly so. But for me, something that really helped Tampa Bay win their rings was the fact that they had guys on these value deals, right? And I think if you look at these contracts, 8 years, but they don't kick in till 2023, 2024, this could be a situation where 3 or 4 years from now, the cap starts to climb up, everyone starts to have room, contracts get inflated, and we might be sitting here doing our free agent show on whatever, July something of 2027 and going, wow, the Lightning are lucky that they have these core pieces locked up on really good value deals. It feels like short-term pain, long-term gain kind of, Scott.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point, Tyler, because what does this cap look like in 3 years or 4 years? And when you're talking about these long-term deals, they're going to grow into what I think, barring some other unforeseen calamity, that they're going to grow into very manageable cap hits as the cap continues to go up. And I think you're absolutely right. It's a great point. It's like playing the stock market, and you're playing that the stock market is going to continue to go up and up. You've locked in core pieces. Yes, it seems a bit rich now. Sergachev's interesting because there have been times where it's like, oh, geez, is he really, where is he at in terms of his evolution? I thought, especially with the injuries to some of the other defensemen along the way in the playoffs, I was really impressed with how he accepted more minutes, a bigger role. I do think he is going to grow into that top four guy that you're like, yeah, I'm glad that he's part of this team, not in the short term, but really for the long term. So it'll be fun to see.
He passes the eye test for me, man. That's what it comes down to with Sergachev. I believe he is going to turn into that player. The eye test is there. And this is a team that trusts analytics as well. They're not going to give these deals out if they don't believe what the smart guys with the math majors, math degrees are telling them, man. So there's a lot of trust on both sides between the scouting department and the analytics department.